Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's live discussion on the Expanse Season 3, Episode 10, Dandelion Sky. We're here to talk about this episode and dissect it in more detail, and I am joined by the usual special guests. First, Akton Tamko, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Hello, Mark. It's good to be here again. I just got the notification from YouTube that Enchantment of Eternity is live on air. That's me. Every time we go live on air, I get a little notification telling me that you are live. Duh. Anyways, it's great. It's good to be here to talk about the Expanse with you.
Cool. And also joining us fresh off his Cobra Kai podcast, Willi. Don, thanks for jumping straight from one cast to another.
Thank you. Yeah, that one actually ran longer than it was supposed to. And I'm up to we gotta wrap it up. I gotta go. Got people waiting for me. So yeah, no, but Mark, I am so glad to be here. Thank you for having me as always.
Yep, no worries. Okay, so let's just go ahead and jump right into this episode. Some overall thoughts. We'll start with you, Don. What were your overall thoughts on this episode?
Well, obviously, you already know. I was so glad, so glad to see my girl back. But I mean, damn it, she was on the wrong side of history with this one, so I got to call her out, man. And I believe it was Cardinal Doomsday who told me that I was going to change my thoughts on Melba. And I told him, hell nah. I'm still saying hell nah. So, yeah, I thought it was an interesting episode, especially the end, because I'm not 100% sure what all that meant. But, you know, still a great episode. So, can't wait to see how things turn out after this.
Great. All right. So, yeah, we're just having a bit of problems with the live stream in the chat. So hopefully that's working okay. I guess YouTube is malfunctioning. Were you having any of these difficulties, Don, in your last stream? Because it doesn't seem like...
No, it wasn't. I mean, it's showing right now.
All right. Some people... Yeah, some people are posting in the chat saying no stream.
I was not seeing the stream. People were complaining about the chat not working. The chat worked fine for me, but I'm not seeing the stream.
Are you seeing it now?
I do see it now.
Yeah, see, I wasn't seeing it either, but then I refreshed. So I just typed in try refreshing. So I think that's
what we said at the beginning. Then wasn't streaming. I don't know if it's going to show up in the archives or not.
Hopefully
I guess I got to re-give my thoughts then.
Yeah, just if you want to, just real quick, Don.
Yeah. So, you know, of course, glad to see Bobbi back. Not glad to see her fighting against Holden. You know, I still believe Melba is evil, no matter what Cardinal Doomsday says. The blind dude, he's lucky. He's lucky that Amos decided to be merciful. And yeah, I mean, it's I can't wait till we start discussing what is inside of that ring, because I do feel like that is going to be a great part of this discussion. And great episode. Can't wait to see how things turn out later.
Great. And Akton, your thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It was okay. Like, I don't know. I agreed with a lot of what you said in your review, particularly related to the Naomi storyline. I found that really frustrating. We'll get into that. I think I probably liked it even less than you did. Honestly, I am not invested in Anna's storyline. It's interesting that this apparently is her book storyline, and the first half of the season wasn't her book storyline. But I was way more into that when she was with Gillis and kind of the intermediary between Gillis and Aaron Wright. This storyline, I'm just like, I find it boring. I don't feel why I should care about it. I don't know. I'm not into it, and I agree with Dawn. Melba / Clarissa is evil, and I think she's a mustache twirling villain. I know you disagree with that, Mark, but to me, but you've read the books, so you have more insight onto her. Just watching her on screen, she's a mustache twirling villain, and I hope that changes. But that whole Thomas Prince storyline is not something I'm into. We'll get to that. However, that said, love everything in the Rosinante. Love Amos and Alex's interactions, the reaction to Holden's video. I love Holden, and I know we're going to get into all this in more detail, but into Holden and Miller stuff. And then, while I'm kind of with Dawn, I didn't quite really understand the ending. I'm intrigued by it. I want to see what this leads to. So I did like the ending. So, not a bad episode, but I wasn't. I'm not feeling blown away by this second half of the season storyline. I guess I still feel a little bit jarred by the whole transition. So I liked it, but I'm not blown away by it, I guess is my whole overview of it.
Yeah, I like, if you see my review, I like really loved the second half of the episode. I was really blown away, particularly by that ending. I just thought it was amazing. And me and Abkin were talking about this a bit before we went on air, and this could possibly be because I've read the books and I sort of know what's going on in that ending, which unfortunately I won't be able to get too much into an explanation on, because that would be spoilers, and I don't want to get into spoilers. I think the way the scene, and we'll get more into this later, but I think the way it was meant to be confusing, and as it was in the books when it first came out. But yeah, I did, as Abkin alluded to earlier, I had some issues with the first half of the episode, particularly Naomi's storyline. And I was just saying, I gotten a few comments on my review suggesting that perhaps I'm letting my knowledge of the books and what's missing interfere with my enjoyment of the show. Because I do, and to be fair, in my review, I do mention I am disappointed by a few things that are missing in the book, especially if they're going to wrap up the entire book 3 storyline within the next 2 episodes. I think it's going to miss out a lot. So I'm not very happy about that. But I think overall, I am enjoying this season much better because of reading the books, particularly hearing Atkins' take on it, because I actually do get Clarissa, and maybe he's right. Maybe it's because I read the books and I know her full story. But I actually think those flashbacks, which weren't in the books, go a long way, in the previous episode, go a long way to explaining her, making her more well-rounded, realistic character, and not a mustache twirling villain. So I do very much disagree with that. But perhaps I'm just interested in this whole Thomas Prince and the storyline more because of the novels. I don't know. I actually think reading the novels helped me appreciate the show even more. And I do like the show for what it is. In fact, most of the issues I had with this episode had to do with like Naomi and stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with the books, because there was nothing like that in the novels. But that's just my take on it. Anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into this episode. Let's actually start with the ending. Let's not preamble and do any of this bullshit. Let's just jump right into the Holden and Miller storyline. Let's start with Holden and Miller first. When they're sort of going towards the thing, we get the interactions between Holden and Miller. I thought these were golden. And because in the previous episode, we did see Miller be a bit more coherent and hold like a good conversation, but he only appeared in one scene. This episode, I thought we got a lot more of that, and it was interesting because he was like acknowledging that he's not necessarily Miller. He is essentially the proto-molecule. They just used the personality of Miller to represent him. And so I do love that sort of interactions between them and the precarious relationship between Holden and how Holden went really fast and Miller got pissed off. It's like, wait, what I told you about doors and corners. And he's like, fuck your metaphors. And he's like, but I don't want you to die. You're no useless to me if you're splat. And then Miller, and then Holden's like, oh, I was just testing free will. And then Miller like, no, you're being an asshole. So I thought those interactions between the two of them were great. What was your guys' take on that? We'll start with you, Abkin.
Yeah, I did too. I really, and I just love how Miller just kind of floating around in space. That he's just kind of there. I love that absolutely. And yeah, that whole interaction that you just spelled out there, I thought was great. And then later on, if we're jumping to the end, when Miller disappears for a while, then he comes back and he starts talking about like what Miller actually experienced. Maybe you can explain that to me, Mark. Like, so we know this isn't Miller, but he has some of Miller's memories. How's that? Like, he was sitting there telling Holden about the whole thing that Julie told him and all that stuff, and it seemed like a sincere Miller thing. So I don't know if I quite understood that, because
I'm kind of don't have any more information than you on this, because I think this is kind of a change from the books, and the books didn't really go into that much detail about the specific nature of this version of Miller, of the investigator, and we didn't get a scene like that where he was talking about Julie in the book, so it seems like the show's doing a slightly different slant on it. But my interpretation from just watching the show, from watching that scene, is that this isn't Miller per se. It's like a recreation, obviously, because they mentioned that they kill it and bring it back. But I think they use, and you could say it's really a philosophical debate, really, you could have it. Is this actually Miller? Is it not? In the real technical sense, no. But I think they have the essence of who this person is, and he would react and feel the same way that Miller would feel, which is what I got out of that one scene. And that's how I actually love that scene, first of all. And I think that's how Holden was able to trust him, to trust Miller, because before he was like, well, you could just be the proto-molecule trying to trick me into wiping out humanity. But then Miller shows that he is actually Miller, and that way Miller wouldn't want to do anything to wipe out humanity.
Yeah, I found that very interesting, that there is some Miller in this being, whatever it is, that he seems to have Miller's personality and memories. Whereas before, yeah, I did kind of think, as Holden thought, that this could just be, for all we know, the proto-molecule just trying to trick Holden into blowing up humanity. So I thought that was a really great scene as well, and that's why Holden, goes ahead and puts his hand into the thing, and yeah, I thought that worked well. I was just a little bit, just kind of confused, like just wondering, wait, how much of this is Miller and how much isn't? But I guess we're meant to feel that way, so I'm probably not alone in feeling that way. But I did think that really worked really well. I did like that.
Cool. Don, your thoughts?
Yeah. So the interactions with Holden and Miller are always great, and anytime we get to see more Thomas Jane is always a good thing. But it's funny. So, Holden is trying to get to the bottom of all this. He's like, look, why are you here? Where are you trying to send me? What are we trying to do? And Miller just keeps on, kind of regaling him with old stories. And, remember what I told you about doors and corners? He's like, man, fuck that. Okay. Can you just tell me what we're actually doing? And he's like, yeah, I could explain it to you, and in the way that the proto-molecule would, or you can just follow me on this journey, and we'll unfold it the way that it needs to, so that your feeble human mind can understand all this. And he's just like, okay, fine, then doors and corners, then, right? We'll do your investigating shit. So that was kind of interesting, just to see that, look, the proto-molecule is trying to figure out the best way to relay to Holden how this whole thing works. He's like, look, I'm kind of using who Miller was in order to explain it to you, because if I have to explain it to you in my language, you're just never going to understand. So you're going to have to follow my lead on this one. And, once James was able to accept that, it made the process a little easier for him, until he gets to the whole thing about completing the circuit. Then it's like, all right, dude, come on, man. You really trying to set me up for a fucking trap right now? Is that what the hell you brought me here for? So, I thought that was a very their interactions throughout, this entire time since they brought Miller back, I thought were great. And I love the fact that he's like, the closer that they actually get to the center of the ring and whatever that nucleus was, the better he's actually able to communicate to him. He's like, inside of here, I'm getting better reception, I think he said. And so he's able to kind of mesh the two together in order to be able to speak to him. So yeah, man, excellent.
And also, like, you bring up the whole thing of Miller being superior to Holden. I like that scene in particular where he is like, calculus, amoeba, Mozart, monkey. And I don't know, that sounded a bit like condescending, but you think about what the protomolecule is and this weird thing it is in this. It's pretty much accurate, and I think he's just trying to give Holden some perspective on that. Which I thought was really interesting, but yeah, let's go ahead and get into this ending, which I thought was freaking mind blowing. First of all, we have this key, as we sort of talked about already, that Miller had to open up to him to show that he really is Miller before Holden would trust him. So Holden goes to activate this. And that's how Miller described it, is like it's unlocking a key. So he wanted this information, but he's locked off to it, and he needs Holden to like use his human DNA to like complete this spiral. And when he goes to do it, the Martians show up and want to arrest him, which was a really intense scene. We'll get a bit more into Bobbi Draper's background a bit later, but I thought it was a really cool concept. Talk about things that they really did better in the books. Having Bobbi Draper in this scene actually added an extra element that I thought that I really loved. So we get this whole showdown between the Martians and Holden, and Holden he's not going to listen. He goes to operate it anyway, and so they shoot at him. And then the protomolecule just takes the dude, and the dude throws the grenade and just rips him apart. And I was just like, that was super intense. I was absolutely loving this scene to death. Anyway, Don, your thoughts on this scene?
So the interesting part of this was the protomolecule suspends the leader of the Martian squad in the air, rips him apart, and then uses the pieces to patch where it had been damaged. And Holden is trying to tell him, like, look, this thing is not here to harm us. If you don't try to harm it, it will not try to harm you. But remember, you're talking to Marines who are there to save Mars, the Belt, and Earth, and their whole thing is like, look, we've seen the protomolecule destroy things. We got Bobbi Draper here, who was the lone survivor of a Martian squad that was ripped apart by the damn protomolecule. And so why in the world will we possibly believe that this thing has any good intentions for any of us? So, I mean, you can't blame them. You can't blame them for taking the actions that they did. And remember, because Holden was the only one that was seeing Miller. Since he was the only one that was seeing Miller, there's no way for him to relay or explain to the rest of them. If Miller had appeared to everyone else, then it could have been a thing where it's like, hey, look, this is the guy who brought me here. You see he's here without a damn vac suit. Let him explain what is going on here, and then maybe you don't throw bombs and get, ripped apart and use it as a fucking Band-Aid. This was just so mind-blowing to see, like, where they decided to take it and where it leads to. I know we're gonna talk about that because I'm still seeing like all that shit flashing by. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell all that means. But yeah, it's like sometimes you just have to listen. Sometimes you have to listen. Listening might be the thing that saves your life, and doesn't get you turned into some space aliens band-aid.
Cool. Afkin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I also thought the ending scene was really, really intense, and and I also don't really blame the Martians for acting the way that they did, and especially after the earlier scene where they're listening to Holden kind of talking to himself, and they're like, "Whoa!" Even Bobbi Draper was like, "Okay, I guess Holden's going a little crazy now." And you mentioned that in your review, Mark, that maybe Holden shouldn't, maybe not have talk to Miller that way while he was talking to Bobbi. So definitely at the end, and and you get this really sense from Bobbi, at least, a lot of sympathy, like almost like she feels sorry for him, like, oh my God, he's going crazy. I want to help you. Like, I think she's sincere in wanting to help Holden. The other dudes, I'm not so sure as much. But obviously, I haven't read the book, so I didn't experience that scene without Bobbi there. But I can't imagine it without her. Like, I think she was a very key element because you got Bobbi, who really has the sympathy for Holden, and then the other dudes who maybe not as much. But it creates a really intense scenario. And then the end where Holden just sticks his hand in. And I'm with Dawn. I don't quite really understand what happened there yet. I mean, it was visually stunning. It was like, whoa, what is happening right now? And I am curious to see where they go forward with this. And then maybe I'll be able to go back and look at that scene again and be like, oh, okay, I understand this a little bit better, see where they were going with it. But it was, in the moment, it was just like visually kind of stunning, like, whoa, wow, whoa, what's happening here? But I didn't quite understand. But for sure, this whole ending scene is the highlight of the episode, without a question, in my opinion.
So I have a question for you guys. Like, when the Martian, like first of all, like this thing like came to life and sort of attacked the Martians after they shot at Holden. Like, they shot at Holden and they froze the bullets in midair, and then this like pillar like charged towards them. So the guy threw a grenade, and after he threw the grenade, they grabbed him like with gravity and then ripped him apart. But if you notice, like at the same time they showed like Naomi on her ship and like some of the other ships and that purple haze sort of coming in the ship. So did you guys get what was happening there?
I got it. I mean, I think it was just a thing of, hey, look, we kind of, just let you guys be, and now you're screwing around. And all right, so now we can't just let you float around on the other side of this ring. Everyone stop. Everyone stop. We're putting a pause on everybody until we get the situation under control. So that's the feeling that I got. The proto molecule reached out and was like, no. We let you live. All right. We let you float around and do your exploration and all that shit. We didn't attack anybody. And now here you come right to the center of this damn thing, throwing grenades and trying to shoot shit up. No. Stop. And that's period what it was. Just like, no, everybody stop now.
So is that what you got out of it as well, Afkin?
No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, but I wasn't really sure, to tell you the truth. What was going on there? Like, why suddenly everybody else was also, thrown up like that, just thrown off like that. We didn't see everybody. Did we see the the Belter ship?
No, we didn't see the Behemoth. We saw the Thomas Prince and the UN fleet and then Naomi's ship. So we didn't see the Behemoth or the Rocinante.
Yeah, or the Martian ship, right? We never see.
Or the Martian ship. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just kind of assuming that probably all the other ships were experiencing that too, and they just didn't, they didn't feel the need to go through and show every single little ship. But no, to be honest, I didn't quite understand what was happening.
Oh yeah, because that's one thing I thought was a bit clearer in the books is that as soon as the Martians fired at them, they were like, "Screw, no, stop!" Like Don said, and you know how they established already that there's a speed limit, so they just ranked that speed limit down even slower, so that screwed a lot of people because they had the sudden deceleration. I think, yeah. But anyway, yeah, we'll get into more in that next episode, which I'm really excited for. But as for the final scene where Holden puts his hand, we get this really abstract thing. I love that to death. It reminded me a lot of like 2001, The Space Odyssey, that final scene, that sort of abstract. Although I think this one was a kind of a bit more straightforward, but there's a lot of different ways, to interpret this or whatever. As I said, I don't want to get too much into the details because that would be considered spoilers. But I just, from a technical standpoint, in the music and the whole like feel it adds to the end, how it has like Holden naked and flowing through the thing, that was really cool. And also, I want to talk about like they had this image of this bird, which if you remember from like season 1 and season 2, like there's this like bird, I think it was a hummingbird or something, that would follow Miller around. And right before Julie Mal died, when she was not died, but when she was infected by the protomolecule, she got a vision of Miller holding the bird, and she had never seen Miller before in her entire life. So I had speculated in a couple of videos that she was like, the protomolecule was sort of psychically connecting Miller and Julie, and that sort of added to their meeting when they first met. And we got in this weird sequence, we had like a star version of that bird. So I think it's showing that, that the protomolecule, its significance of connecting people. If that makes any sense. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this. It's a bit hard to put into words.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I actually did not notice that bird at all until you just now mentioned it. But I really like that interpretation of it. That that's its way of connecting other people.
Oh no, it's a sparrow. Belinda is saying in the chat.
Oh, it was a sparrow.
Yeah. And Belinda, you said you heard a background story that was really funny about this filming of Holden being naked. If you want to tell us about that, it'd be interesting to hear that. That would be cool. But Don, do you have any further thoughts on this scene?
I mean, I noticed the bird. I don't know what the significance of it, but I mean, it could be something, because it seems as though the protomolecule is sort of a hive mind kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, if it's something that kind of telepathically links human beings in order to help facilitate its needs, I mean, I could see that being a thing. Yeah, but that whole sequence, I mean, obviously that was supposedly kind of showing going back in time, and I guess trying to, like, as I'm thinking about it, it looks to me as though the protomolecule was trying to show Holden where it came from, and maybe the other times that it has done sort of the same thing before this, because we do get the image of there being like, it seemed like there were other rings or other portals, and maybe the protomolecule started off like, I'm I'm guessing, and I'm Mark. I'm sure you know, but you're not gonna provide me with spoilers. So I'm guessing the protomolecule is somewhere in its own kind of space-time continuum, and it reaches out to different points in space and does its own sort of terraforming, but it has yet to find something that is 100% compatible with whatever it is that it is doing. But it feels like it's getting close with the people, with human beings. That's my interpretation of it, but I could totally be wrong.
Ah, yeah, that is interesting to hear. Yeah, I just in the chat, I think it was Deanna kind of lost a comment, but saying that perhaps the bird was a dove signifying peace. I think that might be a bit too like on the nose. I like Ian Tron's theory better, that it's a pigeon getting ready to shit on everyone. I think maybe that's the case. But anyway, Belinda actually talked about the backstory she heard about the filming of the scene of Holden being naked, saying that it took 3 hours and a modesty sock that they had to use a scissor lift and dropped him from 3 feet, then kept raising him until they got to shoot about 20 feet to get that shot. So, wow, yeah, that sounds like a huge ordeal just to get that one shot of him floating naked. Yeah, so that he says props to him. I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Real quick, can we give a shout out to Holden's workout? Because I'm like, yeah, I seen that. I'm like, yeah, I really got to get back in the gym. Holden was looking ripped. I'm like, I really need to get back in the gym and get my James Holden workout on.
Yeah, he is looking a lot buffer than he did in the first 2 seasons, I think. Yeah. Probably because he knew he was going to have to film the scene naked. It's like, oh, I better get in shape. But yeah, that was definitely Belinda saying that was a cool shot. It was an amazing shot. I totally agree. Like some of the shots in that sequence were just mind blowing, and the special effect parts of it as well. Cool. Anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about the Bobbi Draper side of things. We already touched on her a little bit, but we at the start of the episode we get sort of her in her team, and she's making it very clear that she doesn't think that Holden blew up the UN ship. And so I think that does speak to her character. And you think that she didn't actually spend that much time with Holden, but they went through the thick of it, and he basically helped her save Mars and helped her with their confrontation of the protomolecule hybrid. So I do think she holds a lot of respect for him. And also, I mentioned this in my review, I think the Martians hold a lot of respect to him, at least the individual people. Like the organization is like, still, you have our ship, we want it back, blah, 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 and being assholes, and they're ordered to capture him, so that's what they do. But I get the impression that the individual Marines still hold him in a bit high esteem, that because he saved Mars, and they know that he saved Mars. But I think you alluded to this earlier, Afkin, the conversation that they have when Bobbi was talking to Miller, and we're talking to Holden, and Holden is just talking to Miller. He does come off like a nutso. He comes off crazy. So I think that was the point. They're like, it doesn't matter how high they hold him in regard. Like, nah, he's gone crazy. It happens to everyone. So we have to capture him. Cool. Any thoughts on that, Afkin?
Yeah, I still think that Bobbi Draper had a lot of sympathy for him and generally wanted to help him. I'm not sure at that point if the other dudes did or not, but yeah, but it was more like, yeah, she feels sorry for him, like, oh man, he's cracked, he's lost it. And I wonder if they think that it's possible because he's cracked that he really did blow up that ship, if he really did do what that fake message confessed to him doing. If there is even a little bit of doubt in Bobbi Draper at that point, because she's like, oh well, he's just lost it, so maybe he really did do that. I think probably the other guys who don't know Holden at all probably do think that, is my impression of it. They still probably hold him in high regard for what he did before, but are like now, well, I don't know, he's a little crazy now, so who knows what he's capable of doing. So yeah, he really fucked up by by talking to Miller while he was talking to Bobbi Draper. He should have, he really should have just ignored Miller, or just if he couldn't ignore Miller, just let Bobbi Draper go and then talk to Miller and then get back to her later. But yeah, I don't think that helped him too much. But so yeah, I think that I'm wondering if Bobby has a little bit of doubt now that maybe he really did do that because he's lost his mind.
Well, you know what? All your money in the chat says, after seeing her squad leader levitated and dismantled into spackle, I think Bobby is gonna be less critical of Holden's mental state, which I would have to agree with. You know, look, he was trying to explain, hey, look, I need to do this in order to save us. You guys coming in here with the guns and the bombs is only going to make things worse. I think finally she might be willing to uh, listen and get the other people of Mars maybe to listen. Hopefully, I mean, look, you know, they're in a very precarious situation where so far proto-molecule interaction equals all bad. And, you know, it's like, what reason would any of them have to think that uh, that there's going to be a good outcome from it? So, yeah, Holden is being blamed for blowing up a UN ship. He hijacked a Martian ship. You know, they got this message saying that he's doing all this in the name of the OPA, and then even the Behemoth, you know, you see them talking their crazy stuff, and we'll get to that later, I'm sure. But with the confluence of circumstances, I mean, I can't blame the Marines. I really can't, you know, and yeah, we're on the outside looking in. We get to see all of the different perspectives, but you know, given the limited knowledge that they had, like yeah, as much as I want to say, oh, you guys are a bunch of gun-toting assholes that just want to, you know, blow shit up, I can't blame them. I really can't.
Yeah, that is true. Their reaction is definitely very understandable, although we know that the throwing grenade at the thing, not the best idea. But it does kind of make sense from their perspective and their training and everything like that. Yeah, that was an interesting point you brought up earlier, Apkin, about how that the Martians perhaps maybe think that Holden went so crazy and blew up the ship. I think, as you said, I think it's possible that they think that, but not Draper. I think it's very clear that she was, even knowing that he's crazy and he needs to be apprehended, I still don't think she thinks that he blew up the ship. But it is interesting, the point that's brought up about how she's definitely not going to think that he's insane now after seeing that guy ripped apart. But it does make me wonder if she's still going to trust Holden now, if she's still going to, if perhaps blame him for that guy being torn apart in some way, even though it's very clear that he wanted them to leave for their own safety and he was trying to warn them. Someone who was a bit dumber and less sort of aware of things as Draper is might interpret that as, oh, it's Holden, it's his fault, he's putting us in a trap. So I really hope that she doesn't see things that way, but perhaps her team will. I don't know. That's something interesting to think about. What you guys take on that?
Yeah, I don't think that she's going to see it that way. And be clear, when I was talking about how Bobby was seeing it, I meant before the grenade and all that stuff happened. I meant their mindset going in to get Holden. I think she was starting to get a little seeds of doubt in there. But yeah, I think after that, I don't think Bobby's going to have any issues with Holden. I think perhaps other members of her team probably will. Is my feeling on it, but I guess we'll see. But I think that Bobbi is going to trust Holden, especially after what just happened. But I'm not so sure about the other members of her team.
Oh, Don, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Sorry, I thought I took that damn thing off. Yeah, I was gonna say, does she really have much of a choice at this point? I mean, think about it. She tried to shoot, her and the squad tried to shoot at Holden, and the bullets literally got frozen in midair. And then when her squad leader goes and throws a damn grenade, I mean, she had to see, like, hey, look, something came and attacked them, and then he got used to patch the place that got that got destroyed by the grenade. I mean, look, Holden is saying, you guys get out of here because you're making things bad. Let me put my hand here because apparently this is what needs to be done in order to save all of us. Yeah, at that point, if I just saw some crazy shit like that, it's all right, back away, slowly. Now run. That's what I would be doing.
Yeah, I definitely see that point of view. So there's another interesting discussion brought up in the chat, and I've had a few comments on my video as well. The Belinda in the chat mentions that she doesn't think that Bobbi was firing on Holden, thinks that maybe she was firing a warning shot or perhaps firing at the pillar, but not at Holden himself. And I heard that, like, I got a few comments like that in my video. I'm not sure I concur. I went back and watched the scene a couple times to see, and it's actually not very clear because the shots focus, it's a one shot focusing only on Bobbi, so you can't really see it. It's not in a wide shot, so you can't really see exactly where her thing is pointing. So it's not entirely clear. Like Deanna in the chat says that it seemed Bobbi was firing on Holden, and that's actually the interpretation I got. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe she was firing a warning shot or firing at the pillar or whatever. But to me, in my mind, I actually thought it might be more interesting if she was firing on Holden, because that showed that because Holden said, trust me, and it showed that she didn't completely trust him. Perhaps she was like, he has gone crazy and I have a duty to Mars and my unit to do what's necessary. And this guy's got gone off the deep end and he's risked all of us. So I actually think that she was firing on him, but I could be wrong about that. Anyway, your thoughts on that?
I honestly, my initial reaction was that I didn't think she was firing on him. But I could see it either way. I think you make a good point there, Mark. It might be more interesting if she was fired on him. Like, she just can see that he's going crazy, and she's got a mission to complete, so she's got to do it. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping maybe there will somehow be a little bit more clarity on that in the next episode. Maybe there won't be, but yeah, I'm still not entirely clear. I see both sides of the argument there. I can see it going either way.
I would hope that she wasn't firing on James. I mean, they've been through enough together. But again, this was one of those things where it's hard to tell because, for one, yes, she has been through a lot with James, but at the same point, like you said, she has a duty to Mars. And again, every interaction that she's had with the proto-molecule has turned out bad. I mean, except for the fact that she actually was able to kill one proto-molecule soldier, monster, whatever you want to call it. Everything else has been all bad, and she's not trying to see it turn even worse now because again, no one knows what happens when James Holden puts his hand in between those two pillars. It's like we don't know what's going to happen. We can't just let you do that and take it on faith, especially when all of this bad shit has happened with regards to the portal molecule. And the thing about it, like you said, Mark, because we don't get a wide shot, we don't get the reverse angle. We only see her and the squad leader shooting. We see, those two. We see their bullets, and we don't know exactly where they were firing. So, man, the thing about it now is, what is Holden's reaction going to be when they get out of this? That's the thing that I'm wondering now.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think he might be a bit peeved that they didn't trust him, but maybe he'd understand. I don't know. That will be something very interesting. Just want to in the chat. Belinda said that Holden saved her and Alice Morales, so she isn't going to kill him. I definitely see that perspective, but although on the other hand, I think perhaps the fact that she thinks he's crazy now, and Donnie bring up good points about the proto molecule and her feelings on that no good comes at it, might have overridden it. But maybe this won't be resolved, and the whole thing is moot. That regardless if she was actually firing on Holden or the pillar, it's kind of similar. I mean, it's also like she has to know that her fellow team would fire on him even if she didn't. So that's another point. But anyway, also I think Iron Trent has the main thing here is that maybe they did it intentionally to get a Han Solo who shot first legendary controversy. So what's going to happen is they're going to have the special edition of this episode, and it's going to show like the wide shot. It's going to show the proto molecule firing first. So I was like, that was fired first. Had to say that. Anyway, let's move on to a different storyline. Let's talk about the Roast Nate. We didn't get much of them in this episode. We got a few brief scenes with Alex and Amos, which I actually did like. I think they were nice character moments, and they had listened to that message of Holden, which I think was a really touching message of Holden. It's like, thank you guys for everything, but don't follow me. Just let me do my thing. And I love how their first reaction is like, let's go follow him. and Alex is like, no, we can't because it's too late now because the Martians, no way we're going to get to him before the Martians do, which was really interesting. And I like the interactions between Alex and Amos where Amos is saying, I haven't felt fear since I was 5 years old. And Alex is like, oh, I wish I could go through life without feeling fear. And Amos is like, no, you don't. I think what they're doing with Amos as a character is really good, and it just gets better with each episode, in my opinion, and their interactions were great. But anyway, Abkin, your thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, I agree. Amos is not a character that I liked in the first season, and I really love the character development. And that was a really great line, a really great scene. And I don't actually quite understand what he means, but like what it would be like to never experience fear, like why you wouldn't want that, why, like but you could just see in his eyes, like you don't want that, like you don't want to be me, like so it was a great scene, and I'm actually surprised they just didn't say fuck it, we'll just go after him anyway, even though I mean we're not going to get there in time. We got to try. We can't just sit here and do nothing. So I'm actually surprised they just didn't go after him anyway. But maybe that's because we'll get into this storyline later. Maybe that's because they're finally going to do what you keep saying they should do, which is to go intercept Naomi. So maybe that's because the storyline is heading more in that direction instead. That's why they did that. But I was actually surprised they didn't just say, well, who cares? We don't have much of a chance of getting him before the Martians do, but let's just go anyway, because what else are we going to do? So that's kind of what I thought they would do. It just is not like them to just do nothing. But Anyways, I did like that the scene with Alex and why am I forgetting his name right now?
Amos.
Amos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude was good.
Well, I have a perfect reason why not experiencing fear would be a bad thing. Because it would lead you to do dumb shit. Okay? When people just operate without fear, sometimes they feel invincible and they wind up doing things that rational human beings wouldn't normally do because it's like, oh, yes, I have no fear that anything should happen to me. And yeah, it can lead you to be reckless. So I mean, I think that's the reason why Amos told Alex, like, you don't want that because, you know, imagine how many situations Amos probably got himself into that may have been troublesome because because he didn't operate with um any sort of fear. And it's not to say that you have to be fearful of everything, but a little bit of fear is good because it helps you to bring things into perspective. You know, so and it's funny. Ion Tron says Amos is the 50 Cent of space. um, but you know what? Even 50 has some sort of fears. Or else he wouldn't be a rapper. He'd still be running around trying to be a gangster. Um, yeah, so I mean, yeah, obviously getting more Amos and Alex is good. I didn't really like Amos in the first season, but he grew on me, and he's definitely one of my favorite characters on the show now. Because he is that guy. So, yeah, man. The thing that I'm wondering though, where are the reporters? Because he spaced them, told them, "Hey, go out and make sure that people know that we didn't blow up that damn ship. We haven't seen him. We haven't heard anybody talk about him. So, yeah, I would love to find out what what happened to those two."
That's actually a really good point. I actually forgot to mention that in my review. Is that, and you watched the previously on segment before the episode. They actually show Amos throwing them out the airlock. So I thought we are going to get follow up for them in this episode, but nothing. Maybe they're saving that for next episode though.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. They showed it on the previously on, so it seems like that means they're going to follow up on it. So it's weird that they had that in the previously on and then didn't follow up on it. When maybe it's a deleted scene. I don't know.
Maybe it's possible.
I found that really odd because usually in any show like this, the previously on is setting you up for what you're going to see in that episode. So it's weird. Show that and not have any follow up. So maybe next week.
Yeah, and something I mentioned in my review is that something that kind of annoyed me with the scenes is that they didn't even acknowledge that there was a Belter skiff coming towards them. They don't necessarily my theory was they would figure out its name and change course to go to it, and maybe that will happen next week. I don't know. So I don't mind that they didn't do that this week, but I would have liked them to at the very least acknowledge its existence. And I kept waiting for Alex to bring that up, and I was a bit disappointed that they didn't do that.
So they're okay. I guess I'm a little bit fuzzy on what equipment is working and whatnot. I thought their scanners weren't working. I thought they wouldn't be able to pick up. No.
Because I think the scanners, they can tell what's going on outside because they knew when the Martian ship came in the ring, and they actually watched the Martian ship as it launched probes, and then they tracked it. So that's how they figured out the speed limit, by watching what the Martian ship was doing, and they know how far the Martian ship is away. So if they can detect the Martian ship, then they surely can detect the Belter skipper coming towards them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know why didn't they mention it. I don't know. Good question.
Oh.
I mean, well, honestly speaking, they probably weren't thinking it was Naomi. They're like, hey, Naomi went to go be on the Behemoth. The Behemoth shot at us. We're on the we're on the outs with everyone right now. So it's like, yeah, we're on the outs with everyone right now. So
Yeah, but even if they didn't think it was Naomi, I would have liked them to acknowledge its existence. Perhaps saying, "Oh, the Belters coming up. Well, I wonder why they're coming here." I don't know.
I mean, maybe they just weren't paying attention to it.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll touch on this next episode. I think the real answer is because the plot didn't want to deal with this yet and want to postpone it until next episode. I think that's the real answer. But anyway, speaking of Naomi, let's get to her. We don't have much to say about her, as I already mentioned. I wasn't very happy with her scenes. Not because, like I said, because I wanted her to catch up with the Rosinante, but someone posted a comment on my channel saying, well, the laws of physics actually wouldn't make sense for them to catch up. It would be kind of like using Littlefinger's teleporter if she got to the Rosinante before the Martians did, and that's fine. But I think what we did get with her was kind of unnecessary because it was just her calling the Rosinante and then not responding, which is frustrating from a viewer standpoint. Even though I'm aware I have more information than she does, I know the Rosinante has been sabotaged and she wouldn't, but it's still frustrating that I already know why they're not answering. So to see her calling and please answer and being frustrated with not answering is kind of tedious for me, to be perfectly honest, because I know why they're not answering. In fact, I actually do think she would be smart enough to figure out that perhaps just maybe a possibility she might float out there that their comms are down and the ship's been sabotaged because she knows being framed for a crime they didn't commit. So it's not too much of a leap to think it's been sabotaged as well. But anyway, regardless, even though I'm not saying they have to ever come to that conclusion, but even if she doesn't, just seeing her call, and then her conversation with the Martians, I thought was really by the numbers. I think she was being obtuse, thinking that the Martians would listen to reason. Of course they won't. They're fucking Martians. They're military minded. They're gonna have orders to apprehend them. They're not gonna listen to reason. So I don't know. I didn't care for this scene, but anyway, Don, what were your thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't have many thoughts on this. For this part specifically, I mean, she was panicked. She's trying to get back to her crew. She's just finding out that they are most likely still alive. She tries to contact them. She's getting no answer. I think she's, I think she's just hoping that everything is okay. Pretty much, panicked and stranded. Pretty, that. So I got nothing else. Sorry, no beautiful insight right now.
Yeah, well, Mark, I kind of agree with you, and it's not about whether or not she reaches the Rosinante. Of course, she's not going to reach the Rosinante before the Martians. We get that. It's just about the fact that she, like you said, she's just calling them and like, why aren't they answering? I don't understand. Like, I mean, I don't know. I almost would have preferred if they just didn't have those scenes at all. And like we just don't even see Naomi in this episode, and then you can just assume, okay, she's on her way to the Rosinante, and we'll see her next week. That's fine. I felt like this was kind of a waste of airtime, honestly. Like I don't know why we needed to see her, not knowing that why the Rosinante is not responding. As you said, Mark, we as the audience know why the Rosinante is not responding. So why do we need to see Naomi questioning why the Rosinante is not responding? And I would almost rather just not see her at all. And then we'll just see her when the plot actually does move forward and she actually does figure something out or make some sort of contact with the Rosinante or whatever it is. Whenever something like that happens, that's really the next time we need to see Naomi. I don't think we needed to see those scenes at all. Oh, it's a minor thing. Like, it didn't ruin the whole episode or anything. There was only like a couple minutes, but I don't know why we needed those scenes.
Yeah, I agree. It's not something I think ruined the episode by any means. It was only a few minutes, but I think you're right. They didn't even need to. If this is the way they want the story to go, just don't show her. And all you need is that scene at the end where everything gets slowed down. You can show her being caught by the thing, and that's so we know that she's still traveling towards Rocinante. That's all we need, basically. My opinion. Anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and move over towards to the Behemoth or the Behemoth. I don't know if you get that Reservoir Dogs reference. I've been waiting forever to use that. The Behemoth. Anyway, let's move over to the Behemoth, and this I thought was actually pretty interesting because you start to see things heat up between Ashford and Drummer because Ashford pretty much berates her in front of the crew, which is a big no-no. Anyone knows about like first officers or second in commands, that's something you never do. You take them in private and then you berate them. And so I could totally understand her feeling that the reason why he was doing this, it was a tactical decision in order to plant seeds of doubt within the crew, which is something that actually apparently did happen because we see Giago go up to Ashford and be like, I think you should be boss man. And so that really, but he is insisting to Drummer that that wasn't his intention, that he realized it was a mistake, that he shouldn't have done it, and he does want to respect her command. And of course, he tells Diago that you don't, he just like, when I say that, just stop talking, like don't even go that way. But then Drummer was saying, oh, of course you're going to tell people listen to the captain, that way you'll look better when it is time. It'll look like you have no choice. Now, this is an interesting question, and I'm curious to get your interpretation of this because I actually believe Ashford. I think he's being sincere, that it wasn't tactical, that he was just losing his patience, and he realizes it was a mistake, and when he's being sincere when he's telling people to follow the captain. But I don't know, what do you guys, do you think, do you more side with Drummer, that it was all calculated move to try to supplant her authority?
I kind of agree with you, Mark. I didn't think that it was a calculated move, although I could be wrong. Like, I won't be surprised if it goes the other way. But my impression of it was, yes, he's sincere. He really, all the stuff that he's been saying about wanting the belt to be united, he does. He wants the belt to be united. He does not want to overthrow Drummer. That's not his intention at all. He just was angry that she did that, and he wasn't thinking, and he did what he shouldn't have done and spoke in front of everybody else about it. And I think he realizes that mistake. So I kind of see I kind of agree with you, Mark. But if it turns out he's a no good dirty bastard, then I guess I won't be totally shocked. But that's not that I'm not leaning that way. I'm leaning more toward what you're talking about, Mark.
This is some good tea. This is some excellent tea. It's the kind of tea you drink, right before someone is about to do some treacherous shit. I've been saying it for the past few weeks. That motherfucker is treacherous. All right. I don't trust him. Get him the fuck out of here as soon as possible. No, Ashford is evil. He is in on all of the bullshit. Okay. No. All right. No. All right. As I sip my tea.
Yeah, I think Dina in the chat earlier mentioned that thought that perhaps she still thinks that Asher's going to take on Bull's storyline from the books, and those who haven't read the books don't know what I'm talking about. But Bull was a good guy. I'll just say that. And so I don't think he will. I don't think he is a good guy. I think he is definitely painted as an adversary, but I do think he's sincere here, that being said. But so I'm kind of siding with you, Don. But I do think he didn't mean anything by this, but I definitely think this is someone you don't turn your back on. Any follow-up thoughts to that, Akton?
Yeah, I mean, I don't totally trust him. I think that, yeah, there could be more going on than what he says, but I don't know. I kind of think that he really does want what's best for the belt, and maybe I'll just be looking like naive and look like a fool when he totally betrays Drummer later on. But I kind of I get the sense that he was sincere. But who knows?
Actually, no, I agree. I think he does want what's best for the belt, and at the moment, I think he does think that having Drummer be in command, him being a faithful first officer, is what's best for the belt. But what if that changes? What if he thinks what's best for the belt is to kill her? Then I think he would personally. I think he has no sort of moral compass or whatever. That's what I'm saying.
I could agree with that. Yeah. I definitely go along with that.
Right, cool. So let's go move over to the Anna storyline on the Thomas Prince. We get a few scenes with Melba checking to see. I want to catch up to the Rosinante. Not much to talk about there, but we actually get a lot of Anna in this episode, and I can kind of agree with your frustrations a bit, Akton, about this storyline. I will say, actually, this is another case where I think having read the books makes me like the show's version better, because I thought this was even more boring in the books, and I thought the show streamlined it and got right to the point, so I actually appreciate it more. I actually really liked the scene with the dude who was having troubles of faith, and he was being really scared, and Anna just pushed him off and ignored him. It's like, yeah, well, whatever, I'm busy looking at this proto-molecule, leave me alone. And he ends up killing himself. So I think she's very rightfully was very depressed about them realizing it's not a good move. But then she makes another mistake and tells her friend Tilly, "Oh, go reach out to Clarissa, try to help her," and not realizing that she's a freaking homicidal maniac that's of course going to kill her as soon as she mentions that. So it's just like, Anna didn't have a very good episode this week. She was just like making dumb mistake after dumb mistake. But anyway, Don, what are some of your thoughts on Anna?
Listen, she is trying to reconcile her faith with the scientific wonder that has befallen the entire human race as of late. So that dude needs to stop being a fucking pussy and realize that, hey, you know what? We're all in a very miraculous and precarious situation. Give the lady some time to be in awe before you decide, oh, she wouldn't talk to me, and I want to talk to her about God, and she wouldn't talk to me when I want to talk. Oh, God. Oh, fucking coward.
I think you're being a bit unfair to him. He's like in this weird alien environment with like these alien things, and they're saying, listening to the captain talk about how it's defying the laws of physics, and everyone's going to die. So, I mean, I can kind of see your perspective, but maybe a bit unfair.
Yeah. I mean, listen, real quick, my speech and my language might be harsh, but let us consider for a moment here that we are in uncharted territory. Things which cannot be explained by even the good book itself. They don't have the answers. No one has the answers. She is trying to figure it out the same way that everyone else is. And instead of him saying, you know what, let me take some time to pray. Let me see if there might be something in scripture that I can find comforting, and then maybe approach the pastor later for further guidance. He's just like, oh my God, oh my God, I'm so lost. I don't know to, and the pastor won't talk to me. I mean, I'm a Marine. I signed up to be on the damn warship, in the middle of freaking space, which isn't mentioned in the goddamn Bible. But no, I just can't take it. Oh my god! And he won't talk to me. Oh my god! I gotta end it all. Man, no, fuck that dude. Okay, fuck him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you're probably being a little unfair to him too. But honestly, I just didn't care. I'm just totally bored with this whole storyline. Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I guess it's a little bit interesting for her character that she ignored this dude and he killed himself. But I'm just kind of I'm just not interested. I'm sorry. I just don't. I mean, I am glad that they did introduce this character early. I can't imagine how I would feel about this character if she just boom came out of nowhere in the middle of the season. I'd be like, oh well, it's Juliet from Lost. Otherwise, I have nothing to grab onto with this character. But even as it is, it was almost like two completely different stories. It was two completely different stories. I was way more invested in this character in the storyline. I guess she wasn't in the books. With Gillis and all that. Here, I mean, I guess we do need Clarissa. We do need the Thomas Prince, I guess. So we do need a character that we're familiar with on here, but I just could not. I'm not invested. I could care less about this character right now. Maybe the show will change my mind by the end of the season, but it's slightly interesting that she did that she screwed up and the guy killed himself, but overall, I just don't care. So I'm, I don't know.
Yeah, that is a lot harsher than I would be. I think for sure this Thomas Prince storyline is the least interesting of the ones going, but I wouldn't be that harsh on it. I still find it. I did find her character story in this episode interesting. I did like the sort of dilemma that she goes through, and I do think that, even though you're right, Don, the guy is a bit of a coward, but I do think that she was right by saying, it is my job to help people, and I shouldn't ignore them by getting distracted. Even in this weird thing, I should have thinking about people first. And her little sermon that she gave at his service, I thought was really nice. I thought that was really touching. I think that speaks a lot to her character and how she was trying to rebuild everyone and have everyone support each other, which I actually think is very good. But I do get the point that this maybe isn't the most interesting thing on the show right now. But Belinda in the chat says that the dude who killed himself was feeling guilty for forcing the officer to stay on board. If you know the previous episode, there's this guy who tried to desert, and he was like, "You're out of the uniform," and that was actually that same guy, which I thought was actually an interesting contrast too, because he had forced someone who was afraid to stay against their will, and then he himself was afraid. So I actually like that. I think it added to it. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't actually notice that until I watched your review where you mentioned that. And that makes it a little more interesting and ironic that that's the guy.
I hadn't noticed that. I hadn't noticed that at all. And that makes me even that strengthens my conviction. That absolutely strengthens my conviction and my position on him. I'm like, you forced someone else who admitted, like, hey, I'm afraid. Yes, I signed up for the military, but I'm afraid. He admitted it, and he tried to skedaddle. You freaking handcuffed the man and threw him on the ship, and because of a momentary, you didn't even it would be a thing. It would be one thing if they showed him having a crisis of faith and he's, sitting there like, I just cannot reconcile this. I've tried, I've prayed, I've read the Bible, I've tried going to church, I something is just like, no, the pastor won't talk to me and help me to reaffirm that everything is gonna be okay. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm like, no, man. I just come on, man. He took the coward's way out. Fuck him. Space him. Okay. He doesn't deserve to be he didn't deserve to have a funeral. He deserved to be spaced.
Wow. You're really hard.
But anyway, let's get more into the part with Tilly and how she bumps into Clarissa. It's like, hey, Clarissa, and she's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Which is obviously and how she goes to Anna and tells Anna about it, and Anna's like, wow, you should go to her and help her, which of course, as we said, is not a good idea. And it's funny when Tilly does go to Clarissa and tries to help her. As soon as I saw Clarissa bite down on that thing, I'm like, Tilly's dead. That's it. She's dead. Anna really fucked up, sent her friend to the death. But then, of course, we do get divine intervention because we see this is when the exact same moment the purple thing comes and stops all the ships. So I think that may, in fact, save her life. But if it wasn't for that, she'd definitely be dead. But I do kind of get, as I said in my review, I do kind of get why Anna wants to help Clarissa, because we saw in the early half of the season that she wasn't on board with the way Jules Pierre Mal's family was being treated. She was like berating Aaron Wright for being such a dick about this. So I could see her wanting to help members of his family, not realizing that she's gone a bit crazy. But anyway, Akton, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Deus Ex Machina for Tilly there. She was very fortunate that things happened that way. I totally agree with you. Anna gave the complete wrong advice, but Anna's not. How's she going to know any better? Which I think you mentioned in your review. Like, I mean, what she doesn't know that Clarissa is a homicidal maniac. So she actually feels sorry for the family of Jules Pierre Mal for them going after them when they didn't necessarily do anything wrong. I can't fault Anna for giving that advice, but it did happen to be the absolute worst advice she could give. And Tilly, obviously a character the show wants to keep around a little bit longer because Deus Ex Machina comes in and saves her. But I have to mention, I haven't mentioned this before, but this whole thing about Clarissa or Melba, whatever you want to call her, biting on an implant and then giving her super strength. I got that from you. Like, I didn't know what the hell was going on just from watching it on screen. She's biting down on something. Now all of a sudden she's strong. How am I supposed to get that's an implant? I don't know. Did I miss something? Like, is that just like, I got no idea that was some kind of implant. I mean, maybe it was in the show and I missed it. But that seems to me like something that you read in the books and knew about it. But I had no clue until you explained it to me that that's what was happening. Obviously, I knew something was happening there to give her super strength, but I didn't think she has an implant. I didn't know what was going on there.
But you're right. It wasn't in the show. It's something I knew from reading the book, and I actually do agree. This is something the show. I was really kind of disappointed with the show that it wasn't very clear on this point. I thought there would be a lot clearer on what that thing is.
Yeah, listen, I thought that it was like the last stash of Nuke from Jessica Jones. Somehow they got the formula in the future. She's been walking around with them pills and like, yeah, this is for Will Simpson. But listen, see, I'm sorry, man. I got no sympathy. Yeah, we saw the little backstory and how she feels about her father. Look, her father was evil, okay? She might not want to admit that her father was an evil bastard, but her father was willing to let her sister die for his own profit, okay? And she's an apple that fell. Not forget about not falling far from the tree. All right, she's sitting right at the damn roots. Okay, she's evil. She's evil. She's evil. There's no way that anybody's going to convince me of anything other than that. All right. Tilly says, hey, you know what? I can try to put in a good word so that you and the rest of your family don't have to suffer for your father's crimes. And what does she do? She decides to bite down on the damn nuke pill and go all Will Simpson crazy and decide to kill people. No, fuck that. Okay. No, she deserves to die, and stop blaming Holden for her father's bullshit. Her father was an evil man, and Cardinal Doomsday, yeah, I see you. I'm never no. Okay, I see you on. I see you in the chat. I'm not going to agree with you. I fuck patience. Fuck waiting. All right. Clarissa deserves to die. She deserves to die a horrible death because she is a horrible human being. I give zero fucks about anything else right now. Fuck it. Fuck Clarissa.
I mean, I'm honestly, like, I can definitely see Don's point of view there. And it might be you guys know more about her from the books and know what's going to happen in the books. But just from what we've seen on the show so far, she looks like an evil mustache twirling villain that, and fuck her if we wanted to die, like, with this petty grudge because Holden did the right thing and put her father exactly where he belongs. I mean, I have no sympathy for this character whatsoever. Like, I'm with Dawn, honestly, in this one. I also see that there's probably more to it that you guys see from the books that we don't see, but I mean, I'm kind of with Dawn on this one. Like, fuck her.
Well, I understand having no sympathy for her. I totally get that, but I would disagree with that. She's not well developed and she's a mustache twirling villain. Just in the show itself, just forgetting the books for a second, like that last week's episode with the flashbacks, I think it went a long way to show her motivations, her background. Even though they're fucked up and I completely disagree with them, it shows you her perspective. Like, she's just totally drinking, and we talked about this last week. She's drinking her father's Kool-Aid. She believes all the bullshit. I'm trying to save the galaxy, even though it's total bullshit. She drank all that Kool-Aid right up, and is following. And it's like, now I'm going to do proud by you, Dad. So I get her motivations, but at the same time, I don't think that makes her, an angel. Still, I can totally see the perspective of fuck this person. She needs to die.
Where is the nearest airlock? Okay, where is the nearest airlock? And in fact, on the other side, there should be a proto-molecule monster waiting for her. Okay? Space her, let her get eaten by one of the proto-molecules, and then have somebody send the both of them into the damn afterburners. All right? No. Clarissa, there is not going to be anything in my eyes that will ever redeem her. She is the Joffrey of this show. There, I said it.
Damn. Final decision. Joffrey of the show. Anyway, yeah, I think we've pretty much gone through this whole storyline. I don't know if you guys had anything I forgot about, anything I haven't touched on that you guys want to touch on before we go?
No, but I actually still wanted to add more to this.
Sure. Go ahead.
I understand we got her background, we got her motivations last week. That still doesn't make me think she's a well-rounded character because her motivations are dumb. I don't understand why. It just still seems like a paper-thin villain to me that she has those particular motivations. Getting them doesn't make her more well-rounded in my eyes. So that's just my perspective. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, fair enough, and that's totally fair enough. And you're right. Maybe I'm thinking of this differently because I have read the books, but I like the way she's handling the show. But yeah, that's just me, just my opinion. And the chat, Belinda says, "Remember, you guys hated Amos at first." Pointing that out. Doesn't necessarily.
I didn't hate Amos though. Amos, I just didn't like him that much as a character. But he was always on the right side. He was always on Holden and Naomi's side. So I just think he became a better character later on, a better developed character. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Didn't hate Amos. I mean, I never wanted Amos to die. Amos wasn't just some damn homicidal maniac, unlike Joffrey over there. No. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think that there's any way. And All Your Money says I think she's more Jamie Lannister, season 1 and 2. I mean, the thing about it is, with Jamie Lannister, we couldn't. There's a bunch of we didn't know the whole thing about the Mad King, and that was literally Jamie Lannister's saving grace was the stuff with the Mad King, and then he came back for Brienne. Other than that, you if he doesn't save Brienne and he doesn't tell her about why he killed the Mad King, we still hate Jamie Lannister. What? She wants to make her evil father proud. And so for this, she kills people and wants to kill James Holden and frames James Holden for killing a bunch of people on a ship. Yeah, no redemption. Okay,
Actually,
she is Joffrey.
Actually, I don't really get the Jamie Lannister comparison either. I think if we were going to go for a Lannister, I'd say Cersei would probably be a closer comparison. Someone who's does evil shit because she wants to make her father proud of her.
Yeah, and actually, I think in the chat here, who was it? Was it Belinda? Let me see if I can find it. It was Iron Throne, who mentions that Melba did feel bad for killing Ren. So that does put her a little step above Joffrey, because Joffrey did not feel bad about killing anybody ever. So that still doesn't redeem her in my eyes, but that does make her a little better than Joffrey, in my opinion.
I think it makes her a dynamic character. I actually really love those scenes we got of her filming, and I thought they were wonderfully acted as well, where she was like crying and almost killed herself over by crashing into the ship over having to kill Ren. Not that, she's still evil for killing him, but I think it makes her more interesting.
Still did it.
She's
petty grudge just to save her evil father. So I still have no sympathy for her, but I do think that puts her a smudge above Joffrey, who didn't care about anything.
Yeah, boo hoo hoo. She feels bad for killing an innocent man. Oh my god. Oh, the feels. Oh, forget about the fact that she blew up a ship with hundreds of people on it and then tried to frame someone else. Oh no, the fact that she felt sorry for bashing this man's skull in, folding him like a fucking accordion and stuffing him into like a service locker or something. Oh yeah, no. Oh we should have all the feels for her. Oh my god, how could I have been so wrong? I was so mean to think that she was this evil person that might do. Oh wait, she did do mass murder.
Another Game of Thrones comparison I would throw out there is it's kind of like, Stannis crying and feeling sad for himself after just ordering his own daughter to be burned to the stake. It's like, oh, poor Stannis crying over after just burning his own daughter. So that's another comparison I would make.
Anyways, Mark, we can.
Yeah. All right, yeah, let's go ahead. I think we talked about this enough. Let's go ahead and end this discussion here. So only 3 episodes left. Do you guys have any thoughts on any hopes? Not necessarily specific predictions, but any hopes, the general direction you hope that these 3 episodes go in for you, Atkin, maybe that will win you back to this new storyline.
Yeah, well, I'm sold on the proto-molecule part of it, the station, Holden and Miller, and that part of it. So I'm very hopeful that portion of it, at least, will be pretty spectacular. I don't know exactly where we're headed and what's going to happen, but I'm intrigued. So that part of it. The Pastor Anna part of it, I don't know if they're saving it for me personally. I guess I'll keep an open mind and hope that I become more invested in that. We've talked enough about Melba. We don't need to get into her anymore. But yeah, I don't have any specific predictions. Just that I'm really as far as the Holden piece of it and the Miller and everything that's happening in the ring with Proto Molecule, I'm on the edge of my seat waiting to see where we go with this. So I'm looking forward to that part of the show, if nothing else.
Let's see, hopes for the episode. That they explain that ending. Because damn it, I really need to know whether or not I am totally batshit crazy in my assertion that the proto molecule is trying to figure out how to reach out to other civilizations and possibly meld with them. And also whether or not I'm batshit crazy about was it Ashford? Yeah, or whatever his name is. Yeah, and I'm hoping that Cardinal Doomsday will be proven wrong about Clarissa. That is one of my hopes. And that it just continues to provide a great experience. I'm glad, Mark, that you spurred me to start watching this show again, and can't wait to see where it leads.
Awesome, great. So let's just go ahead and end that where people can find you, what you're up to on your channel. I'll start with you, Akton.
Hi, I'm Akton Tamko. Before I get into what my channel's about, I want to give something for people in the chat. I've been wondering. Let's get him over here. Let's see if I can get him in the shot. Sawyer, who you've heard in the background in some of my previous discussions, but maybe not so much in this one. Let's see if I can get him in here. Come here, Sawyer. All right, well, it's not working. Never mind. It's not working well. But people talk about him in the chat a lot, so I just wanted for a little shout out for people in the chat to see what Sawyer looks like. And there he is. Anyway, so that out of the way. You can find me on Akton Tamko's channel. Sawyer's not usually there with me, although sometimes you can sort of hear him in the background if you're listening carefully as I'm recording. But currently, I am really, really, really into Westworld right now. Really super excited for the last 2 episodes of that show. So if you haven't already, go and watch my reviews and analysis of the previous 8 episodes, because I have a lot of thoughts and theories on that show. So check that out. And if you haven't already, check out my previous stuff on Game of Thrones and Star Trek, and hope to see you on my channel.
Cool, Don.
Well, you can find me mainly with the Hype Swatch right now. We just did the Cobra Kai discussion. I think we had another thing last week. I don't know, man. Freaking weeks have been going by so damn quickly. Tomorrow afternoon, Saturday, June 16th, 1 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing our monthly reread. This one is going to be, I believe, Theon 6 from a Clash of Kings, whatever the hell the damn thing's called. Sorry, I've been up like since 5 o'clock this morning. It's almost midnight. Yeah, and listen, I'm gonna try to get back to my channel soon. I've been going through some stuff that have prevented me from doing the videos that I actually want to get to, but hopefully all that should be cleared up soon. So Mark, thank you as always for inviting me to your channel. Akton, always great to do these discussions with you guys. All right, and yeah, you already know the deal. Rallo the Harris, all that other good stuff.
Cool. Yeah, and definitely thank you guys so much for joining these discussions. Love talking about The Expanse, even if we don't always agree. So tons of fun, lots of fun. And thank you everyone in the chat for joining us. Colonel Doomsday, Dina, Iron Throne, everyone enjoying. Thank you so much. And everyone's watching the archives. Thank you so much for sticking with us. So if you're finding me for the first time, my channel's Enchantment of Eternity. I'm Mark. I do cover The Expanse every week with reviews, also with these lovely discussion videos. We still got only 2 weeks left, but I will continue covering The Expanse up to that, and also we'll do videos on the whole season once it's done. I also cover Star Trek. At the moment, I'm covering every Star Trek movie. Only got 2 movies left. Next week, I'll be covering Into Darkness, which I don't hate as much as everyone else does. You can watch my review for Star Trek 2009, which I put a lot of effort to. That movie I do hate and think it's a total piece of shit. So if you want to see my opinion on that, you can check out that review. And I've also been working my Babylon 5 Season 4 review. I was supposed to have that out 2 weeks ago, and I'm still working on it. Sorry, a bit behind of it. I'm going to try to get that out this week. And I'm also going to be reviewing the finale, season finale, or series finale, sorry, of Sense8, which just dropped on Netflix. I'll be covering that this week as well. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.